Hello and welcome to Indus News, live from Islamabad. I'm Hamza Rifat and these are the headlines. In Afghanistan, the Taliban have announced a caretaker government days after they took control of Kabul. A Taliban spokesperson said Mohammad Hassan Akhund will lead the interim setup, while Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar will be his deputy. Mullah Muhammad Yaqub, the son of Taliban's co-founder Mullah Omar, has been named as the defense minister. Sirajuddin Haqqani has been appointed as acting interior minister, while Mullah Mir Khan Muttaqi will be the foreign minister. Meanwhile, the spokesperson rejected baseless reports of Pakistan's interference in Panjshir. The Pakistan Army says 2 of its soldiers embraced martyrdom when an improvised explosive device exploded during a clearance operation in North Waziristan. It said the troops killed a terrorist in an exchange of fire. The operation is still underway to hunt down terrorists who planted the IED. Pakistan is observing Air Force Day with patriotic zeal today. The day is celebrated to relive the memory of the 1965 war with Pakistani pilots inflicting humiliating defeat on India. Special events are being organized to pay homage to the war heroes. Israel's military chief says preparations for possible action against Iran over its nuclear program are being intensified. In an interview, Aviv Kohavi said that a significant increase in the defense budget is intended for this purpose. He also said efforts are underway throughout the Middle East to check Iran's allies. The comments follow a series of warnings from Israeli officials over Iran's nuclear program as questions on the ability to revive the 2015 nuclear deal continue to grow. Mexico has reported over 300 daily COVID-19 deaths and more than 5,000 infections in the last 24 hours. Meanwhile, Pakistan has registered nearly 100 new COVID-19 fatalities and over 3,300 cases in the last 24 hours. Globally, the caseload has topped 221 million, while the death toll has reached over 4.57 million. The news in detail after a short break. Stay tuned to Indus News. Welcome back, and now the news in detail. In Afghanistan, the Taliban have announced a caretaker government days after they took control of Kabul. A Taliban spokesperson said Mohammad Hassan Akhund will lead the interim setup, while Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar will be his deputy. Mullah Muhammad Yaqub, the son of Taliban's co-founder Mullah Omar, has been named as the defense minister. Sirajuddin Haqqani has been appointed as acting interior minister, while Mullah Mir Khan Muttaqi will be the foreign minister. Muhammad Abbas Tanakzai will be the acting deputy foreign minister. Meanwhile, the spokesperson rejected baseless reports of Pakistan's interference in Panjshir. Earlier, the US said it is working with the international community to continue humanitarian assistance for the Afghan people. Now, America has said it is working with the international community to continue humanitarian assistance to the Afghan people. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin were addressing a press conference alongside the Qatari counterparts in Doha.
Blinken said Washington believes there are still around 100 American citizens in Mazar-e-Sharif. He said the U.S. is working to ensure charter flights carrying U.S. citizens and at-risk Afghans can leave Afghanistan safely. But Blinken said Taliban officials had told the U.S. they will let people with travel documents freely depart Afghanistan. For his part, Qatar's foreign minister said the Kabul airport will hopefully be running for passengers in the next few days. However, he said no agreement on how to run the Kabul airport has yet been reached. Meanwhile, the UN says basic services in Afghanistan are collapsing while food and other aid is starting to run out. At a press briefing, spokesperson Jens Lark said LARC called for food and humanitarian assistance.
Now, the Pakistan Army says 2 of its soldiers embraced martyrdom when an improvised explosive device exploded during a clearance operation in North Waziristan. It said the troops killed a terrorist in an exchange of fire. The operation is still underway to hunt down terrorists who planted the IED. The military's media wing said the area has been cordoned off to eliminate any other terrorists in the area. Now, Pakistan is observing Air Force Day with patriotic zeal today. The day is celebrated to mark the memory of the 1965 war, when Pakistani pilots inflicted a humiliating defeat on India. The Indian Air Force launched a clandestine attack on Lahore at Burki border, but it failed miserably after valiant resistance by military officers like Major Raja Aziz Bhatti Shaheed. Pakistan Air Force pilot Muhammad Mahmood Alam shot down 5 Indian Air Force Hawker Hunter fighters in less than a minute. He became history's only jet ace in a day in 100 years' history of the world aircraft. On this occasion, special events are being organized to pay homage to the war heroes. Now, as Pakistan honors its armed forces and martyrs of the war, former squadron leader Akbar Ghani recalls the Wagah mission with Indus News. More in this report by our correspondent.
ने हम पर बेदरेर जारहाना हमला किया तो हमने उसके चैलेंज का जवाब देने के लिए सफ़ें बांध ली.
As tensions escalated in 1965, Indian Army General Chaudhary boasted about the fall of Lahore and to have a drink in Lahore Gymkhana. A day later, the team that squadron leader Akbar Ghani was a part of learned that they were to provide ground support to Wagah as Indian soldiers had crossed the border.
We went straight to Lahore, descended over Shalimar Garden, and followed the road to Wagah border. We were about 500 feet, looking right and left if they were there, and we couldn't find them. So from there, we just turned on the GT road, and Amritsar is very near. We went near Amritsar and we saw the AK guns, because Amritsar radar is there. The AK gun, so this is Amritsar, we turned back. Again on the road.
They witnessed movement of Indian troops on the northwest of Wagah. Flight leader Sayyid Sajjad Haider then gave orders to choose their targets and hit the enemy.
As we came on the border, about 3 miles to the northwest of Wagah, there were tracks in the field. As soon as we went over them, we saw the saffron roundel. And the leader called in abusive language, like the firefighter, here they are, the SOBs. So 5, 6, go 5,000 feet for cap and 4 hard guns and let's go for it. Whenever, the attack was made, we see a lot of fire coming out. All the recoilless guns were destroyed. Pattern tanks were there. They were all incapacitated.
He also recalled how the Indian forces ran away following the attack by the Pakistan Air Force.
The officer commanding, he saw that, things were not good and people were being killed and all those. There was uprising within his battalion. So he deserted. He ran away. And he has written in his book that when he ended up in the fort in Amritsar, he was only with 1 sock and 1 shoe. His number 2, when he saw the officer commanding has run away, so he followed suit. He also ran back to Amritsar, but he got a cycle from somewhere.
After the 1965 war, Akbar was awarded with Sitar-e-Jurrat, the country's 3rd highest military award. The 83-year-old veteran says if needed, he will be again at service for his country. Manahil Ahmed, Indus News, Islamabad.
Earlier defense analyst, Air Marshal retired Masood Akhtar was our guest in the studio with Munib Hamid, which was recorded earlier.
Now, Pakistan is observing Air Force Day with patriotic zeal today, and the day is celebrated to relive the memory of 1965 war when Pakistani pilots inflicted humiliating defeat on India. Now, to talk more about this, we have with us Air Marshal retired Masood Akhtar. So, welcome to Indus News. Now, tell us what lessons were learned from the air war of 1965.
Big ones. I think number one, that when you have good leadership, and Noor Khan was an Iron Man. He led from the front, he demanded discipline from his air warriors, and he had trained them very well. And to top it all, his strategy was good. He decided to preempt. Air Marshal Arjun Singh was his colleague from the erstwhile pre-partition Indian Air Force, and I think he competed very well. And his pilots, people like late Rafiqi, Yunus, Middlecourt, Cecil Chaudhary, Alauddin Butch Ahmed, Air Commodore Sajjad Haider presently, and then he was a squadron leader. When they flew on the 6th, and before that on 1st of September, they had written a tale of excellence and bravado and courage and guts and grit, which has very few parallels. And when we look at the quotations about the 65 war, generally when they talk of the overall war, we think it was a stalemate. But people like Chuck Yeager, people like Chuck Horner, Chuck Yeager, who was the first one to go supersonic in the world in the X-1, and Chuck Horner, who was the JFAC, Joint Air Force Component Commander in Gulf War I, they have nothing but praise for Pakistan Air Force. Chuck Horner says during Gulf War I, he was only scared of the Iraqi pilots who were trained by the Pakistanis. When the Pakistanis, because they're thinking people, when the Pakistanis told them that, look, they are being controlled on the radar by an archaic control system, he said he took a sigh of relief, that now it is not going to be any problem. But if somebody gave him a difficulty during Gulf War I, these were the pilots who were trained by the likes of Rafiqi and Yunus and Cecil Chaudhary and Middlecourt. And in fact, in 71, the traditions that they left behind, a single number 14 squadron with 14 to 16 aeroplanes, flew against, you know, how many squadrons? 13. 13 fighter squadrons means 13 into 16, something like 160, 200 aeroplanes. So 14 versus 160 to 200 aeroplanes, and they had a kill ratio again of 1:3. In 65 war also, we had a kill ratio of 1:345. And the numbers, Indian Air Force was something like 700 frontline combat aeroplanes, and ours were 260. So a force larger than 1/3 plus 3 times the Pakistan Air Force. Noor Khan had an edge, and he won air superiority right on 1st September when the war was not on. And on 1st of September, late Rafiqi and Flight Lieutenant Imtiaz Bhatti, they shot 2 vampires each over Cham Jodiyan, right over River Tavi, where the armor, Indian armor and Pakistani armor was bumper to bumper. And you know what they did? They wrote off a big flight of Oregons, which was a French aeroplane, and the vampires, and something like 160 to 200 aeroplanes were taken out of the fight. So 1/3 of the Indian Air Force was taken out on 1st of September just because Rafiqi and Imtiaz Bhatti Saab shot 2 aeroplanes each, and they said vampires and Oregons will not be able to survive the war. So that was the kind of feat of leadership, of courage, grit, and training and discipline.
Wow, this is unbelievable to believe, but the fact is Pakistan Air Force has proven its mettle whenever it is tested now. How did the air war affect the outcome of the conflict?
Well, the air war, we had air superiority, relative air superiority. Let us not forget that the Indian Air Force also is a professional air force. They also flew low altitude, 150 nautical miles into Sargodha and Peshawar, and had air combat at the edge of their endurance and range with the Pakistani pilots. There was this flight lieutenant Devia who comes in a mist here and he does slow speed scissors with an F-104. And eventually, in one of the passes, in the effort to get behind one another, they collide. Flight Lieutenant Amjad, he later on rose to be an Air Vice Marshal. He ejects out of the 104, gets a Sitara Jurat, and Flight Lieutenant Devia, he goes down with the aeroplane. He was given a Paramveer Chakra. So notwithstanding that the Indian Air Force is also a professional air force, Noor Khan had an edge. And once I asked him, I said, sir, he was much too senior to me. I asked him, sir, you won the air war. What happened, the air battle, what happened to the war? Actually, the outcome of the war was a very, very fortunate for us and for India also, a stalemate. We wanted to go across into Kashmir and liberate Kashmir through Gibraltar, failed. India wanted to decimate us as a nation and as a military, they failed. And the likes of Rafiqi and Yunus and Aziz Bhatti and Shami, they were the ones who at the tactical level gave their blood. And they were able to not only save Pakistan against an enemy that was 5 times, both in all 3, Army, Navy and Air Force. And that is why the Army Chief very rightly said last evening that the military is fully ready for all conventional and unconventional threats. And we proved it over and over again, 71. We proved it in Kargil. We proved it in the Afghan war. But more importantly, we proved it on 19th February 2019, when the traditions of all these erstwhile giants that I have mentioned, their tales were replicated by smaller people, I mean in terms of junior, they were very junior. Noman Siddiqui, Wing Commander Noman and Siddiqui, Squadron Siddiqui, when Noman shot Abhinandan and Siddiqui shot an Su-30. So we should be very humble in our attitude, thank Allah, but also look forward to the tradition that were left behind by these very, very tall people. And the Pakistan Air Force has done well. The Army has just taken care, not just, but about 10 years back, took care of an insurgency which is very difficult, messy, and which was complex. But the Pakistan Army, supported by the Pakistan Air Force, and had Pakistan Air Force not supported, we would have lost many, many more men in Waziristan and Zarb-e-Azm and all these efforts. So we took care of the insurgency. We have a huge threat today. And when the Army Chief says there can be terrorism, the TTP is not died and it's not out, it can give us problems, but he said we are fully ready, and I entirely agree with him.
Now, talking about that, former DG ISPR, Mr. Asif Ghafoor, said that we gave India a bloody nose, and the Pakistan Armed Forces have made it a habit of giving India a bloody nose, be it on the history or at the present stage. Now, has India learned a lesson from February 27th dogfight?
I will not be arrogant. We should be humble about what we have done. But Asif Ghafoor is absolutely right. We taught them a lesson. What lesson has India learned? Please remember, when in broad daylight, whereas they came in the thick of night and they lobbed their weapons, we say from a distance, they dropped their weapons, they got hold of a cow, of a crow and a few pine trees. Then we went in next day in broad daylight and re-established, and I'm a very proud sky blue warrior. We re-established military deterrence and political deterrence all by a single service application. Please remember, Munib, air power in certain conditions can achieve political and military ends by itself, in certain conditions. It will always need boots on ground to fight their way through, supported by the air, and of course in the south supported by the maritime forces, by the Pakistan Navy, but we re-established. India did not have the guts to relaunch an effort against this. They did not reciprocate by launching another. What have they learned? That the strategic strikes on ground failed. They have absolutely, General Huda, who oversaw this, he has not given an iota of evidence of these strategic strikes on ground, which we've been clamoring for, asking for in the international press. When they launched the airstrike, they thought they can stay below the nuclear threshold and do anything in the air to teach Pakistan a lesson. They could not. So they have chosen not to relaunch a military effort, a smaller one also. But where is the difficulty? India has got a huge military. It cannot employ, and we also know, we tried once in Kashmir, we tried second time in Kashmir, we tried third time in Kargil. In Kargil, we also found that military application has its severe limitations. But India has even bigger limitations, and that is nobody, the powers that be, will not allow India to launch a full-fledged war of 10 days to a month. If they don't do that from north to south, they will not generate their full combat power. Case in point, when the parliament was struck, in their case, they tried to launch a full-fledged war. America said, stop, stop, stop. They said, no, we are not stopping. We must decimate Pakistan into many pieces. So what did the Americans do? They launched, they gave a travel advisory to their people in Bangalore, etc. So when the Americans moved out, were moving out, the Europeans also said there is threat, so they're all. So the Indians said, please stop, we're not doing anything. So that is the limit of application of military power. Likewise in Bombay, the post-Bombay. If they want to test our resolve within Kashmir, now that is a small area in terms of the airspace above and on the ground. If they bring in 2, 3, 4, 5 corps, we can also take them there and keep the defensive balance in the center and in the south. They will bring in their 2, 3, 4, 5 elite squadrons, fighter squadrons to Kashmir. We can also do that. We have all the air bases in the north. We can also do that. And please remember, I want to give this good news to our viewers. Our Air Force leadership is full. I retired in 2005, so I don't know everything that is classified. But little that I know, by the beginning of next year, and by now Rafales with their Meteors are not operational fully. They've been flying, of course, across the LAC, in Ladakh, etc. But we will have a good antidote to Rafale in the form of J-10, possibly, and the PL-15. And remember, the J-10 is 4.5 generation fighter. And its PL-15 and its AISA radar are supposedly better than that of. So people, the Pakistan Air Force air warriors do not only train hard, and they train with grit, courage and belief, but our leadership is fully cognizant of the threats that India, when Modi said, had we had Rafales, things would have been different. So I think we have not done bad. We should not be arrogant, we should be humble. They are also a professional military. But with a small military, Army, Navy and Air Force, look at Dwarka. I know Admiral Tasneem, he's a great elder and a great friend, Sitara Jurat and Bar in 71. Through a small submarine, commanding a small submarine in the thick of the depths of Arabian Sea, Hangor, and he sunk the Kukri. And the Indians were taken aback. Just because of that, they could not launch a second strike onto Karachi. Because in the first strike, they had left the Karachi refinery aflame. And so like the army chief said yesterday, the army is ready, the air force is ready, the navy is ready. The only thing required is the nation must be put together. It doesn't come together all by itself. Political leaders have to do that. Under, like we discussed in some of the programs, one national identity which should be a correct one, a Pakistani Pakistan. One common purpose, one set of vital national interests. These are some of the problems that we have. Otherwise, 6th and 7th September, and tomorrow probably the Navy is going to celebrate. We haven't done bad at all. But I think we should be humble and pray to God. We will do even better.
Air Marshal Retired Masood Akhtar, thank you so much for being with us here in our studio and sharing your experiences about the 1965 war and Pakistan Air Force's ability to give a bloody nose to all the enemies of Pakistan. Thank you so much. And now we shall move on with our other news stories.
Now, Pakistan is observing Air Force Day with patriotic zeal today. To mark the occasion, Indus News correspondent Sumaira Khan visited the Pakistan Air Force Base in CARETAKER for a special report.
Whenever we talk about 7th September, which is always celebrated as Pakistan's Air Defense Day, and it has a history that we derive from 1965. But as of now, if living in a modern age, when we talk about 7th September, it is year 2021. Let me give you a different perspective of 7th September with regards to Pakistan Air Force. Right now, I'm present here at a base which is exclusively dedicated to Special Services Group of Pakistan Air Force, and I'm sure, I believe that you must have not heard about it prior to this program that we are recording here for Indus News right now. And this is the vicinity where one of the brilliant force is being trained, and they are ready to tackle any kind of situation, any kind of untoward scene, whether it's a terrorist activity, whether it's an assault, whether it's a hostage scenario, or whether I just bet if it's any kind of situation, the forces are brilliantly ready to tackle that challenge for the sake of securing motherland. Right now, I am present here at the CARETAKER base, which is associated with the Pakistan Air Force, and as I said, that it is dedicated to the Special Services Wing of Pakistan Air Force, the commandos of Pakistan. So today I'll be interviewing the key personalities here who are looking after the airbase, looking after the base, and those who are looking after the ranges as well. We'll be witnessing the training area, we'll be witnessing the firing range, and we'll be speaking to the personalities who are right now in charge of all these sensitive vicinities. We are really thankful to the Pakistan Air Force, those who provided us the opportunity, and we are the first television who got this opportunity to record this program over here. Prior to this program, it was just a prerogative of diplomats and other dignitaries of the country and foreign dignitaries to visit this very sensitive installation, but we are the ones who are recording this full-fledged program here. So I'll be speaking to the base commander in a while, and I just want to show this beautifully built one of Pakistan's most sensitive installation in the country, and this is CARETAKER's outskirts, and we are here to record this a beautiful program with brilliant force of Pakistan. So let's start our program and we'll see who we talk about this. standing right now is the place that is called CARETAKER Special Services Wing of Pakistan Air Force. It is the exclusive Special Services Wing that is also called Commandos, and it is equivalent to SSG Commando Force. You can see that 110 personnel are right now, they're getting trained right now. They'll be graduated to the next level of their training, and you can also see that they are going through different phases of their training. And those training phases are called, it is called combat exercises, and it also includes the scenario-based training exercises and firing, etc. Some exercises cannot be named due to the classified kind of stature of there, but they can be seen here on camera. We'll be speaking to someone here who and they can better explain that how they are getting trained over here, why they are getting trained here, and what is the compulsion to get selected to be amongst the contingent. The basic idea of the training of these special services forces is it is based on the ideology of martyrdom, patriotism towards their country, and it is all about Pakistan. So you can see these brave soldiers of Pakistan right now, but they are associated with Pakistan Air Force, as SSG commandos are associated with different contingents of Pakistan Navy and Pakistan Armed Forces. So you can see them, and we'll be speaking to them in a while, so just have a glimpse of them. One of the trainees who's going to be graduated in a couple of days right now, Flight Lieutenant Rizwan Habib, is with me right now, and let me ask him a few questions. That what is this training is all about, why he is here, and what was his aim to achieve by being here as a member of Special Services Wing. So let me ask these questions from him directly. Let's see what he has to say about it. Why you are here, basically, for the youth of Pakistan?
Actually, अभी ट्रेनिंग के लिए जो हम आए हैं, basically with broader aim is defense of Pakistan, then Pakistan Air Force. In Pakistan Air Force specifically, we deal with the defense of our bases. We are here to practice unarmed combat, armed combat, so that we will be capable to handle any kind of insurgency, to be better capable to defend our bases.
Just tell us briefly that what is happening right now. How many phases are yet to come in the phases of these trainings? You are going to be graduated in a couple of days, but what next? What is going next? What is going to be next, like in plain words?
Actually, we started from weapon training, then we have now been training on unarmed combat. Basically, when we have no weapon, we can deal with the enemy by using unarmed combat, like we are doing judo. The demonstration have been carried out earlier. And afterwards, there are different phases. We have advanced training as well. In this phase, we were actually having the basic training. We have trained ourselves for very basic steps, and inshallah, hopefully, in further stages we'll be coming back again for advanced training as well.
So we can say that actually you guys will be ready to deal with any kind of challenging situation in the country wherever you are called there.
Inshallah we'll be ready, and we are ready. We deal with any kind of situation. You have seen as well the way we are being trained. Inshallah, we will deal with anything that is going to happen.
And what's the morale level of your accomplices here?
You have seen as well, the morale is sky high. There is no limit. Inshallah, we'll defend our country.
Thank you so much. This was Flight Lieutenant Rizwan Habib, and he's one of the trainees here, and he along with his other colleagues and other trainees, he'll be graduated to the next advanced levels soon. So right now we are here at the firing range of CARETAKER Special Services Wing of Pakistan Air Force. Let's see what else we explore here. Stay tuned.
Air affirmative. Nose. Enemy. Air attack and eye. Nose. Enemy.
Contingent. The basic idea of the
Upward point. Nose. Enemy.
We'll be speaking to Squadron Leader Usman Akram in a while, and he's officer commanding here. He's representing Pakistan Air Force's Special Services Wing over here. And if in simple terms I can term it, then we should say that he looks after the entire vicinity, where you just saw some glimpses of the training area, the firing range, the tower rappelling, and the compound clearance area, where he'll be further explaining it technically. And I think I think we should let the expert do the talkings. So we'll be going towards Squadron Leader Usman Akram, what he has to say about how they are handling this area, how they are handling the trainees over here. Let's talk to him.
My name is Squadron Leader Usman Akram. I'm Officer Commanding Special Services Wing at PAF Base Color Kahar. Our day starts with physical training after morning prayers. After that, our general classes are held. Then training is conducted at the combat training zone, where we are present at the moment. Here, training is conducted at the 72-feet rappelling tower and the close quarter battle complex that you can see behind me. There are two categories of trainees. First one are the commandos, and second, those security personnel who come from all over Pakistan for specialized training. We train them in different aspects of combat, like weapons handling, firing, and various other forms of training. Meanwhile, our specialized people train in foreign exercises and different other specialized courses. This kind of tough training highly specializes our soldiers in different combat forms, as you just witnessed in a demonstration. We are always prepared for all kinds of security conditions at all the bases of PAF. We have a specialized squadron called the Anti-Terrorist Squadron. Whenever they are ordered, they immediately move to the required location within 20 minutes. Our high level of preparedness is through our tough training that continues from morning till night. In 2010, our top command decided to carry out mass inductions in the security department. Therefore, all our personnel, even the technicians, are well trained at the grassroots level to handle all kinds of security situations at any base of PAF. Our training is undertaken in a step-by-step process. Firstly, our personnel learn the basics. Then we move on to advanced training to push them on a level where they are able to manage threats on their own until the quick response force reaches the attack site. This training that you witnessed, which contained different methods of combat, is carried out for a purpose. It is so that our trainees are able to quickly respond to situations like a hostage scenario or where killing has been initiated. There are also other forms of different improvised trainings like jungle warfare, which enables us to handle all kinds of threats and situations.
As I introduced earlier, that I'm present here at Pakistan Air Force's Color Kahar base, and as I said that we are going to speak to the base commander, and right now I'm here at the office of base commander, Pakistan Air Force Base Color Kahar. Group Captain Maqsood Akhtar is with us, and we are going to just put up a few simple questions that how he looks after the affairs and the operational sensitivities of this base. So sir, a warm welcome to you in a show of Indus News.
Thank you very much for coming here at PF Base Color Kahar, and we also warmly welcome you.
Thank you so much, sir. So, first question about the base, why it's so sensitive and what is its exclusivity, and give us a brief introduction of this base, when it was founded, and why you felt need to have this base for Special Services Wing.
Basically, the base, initially it was conceived, the idea was conceived in 1999, and initially it was shifted in 2000. It was Special Services Wing, where the people from various areas have done the initial commando courses from the army, and they were gathered here that we should have an independent Special Services Wing placed at this place. So I was among one of the pioneers at that time. I was a young flying officer who visited this place, and then we recommend this place for to the Air Force that we should have an independent special services wing. So we placed it in 2002. It started, and in 2015 it was then changed from the wing to the base, and then again the Air Force, because in 2012 to 15 there were attacks on the Air Force bases, so the Air Force authorities directed this base that we should start, as far as the special operations is concerned, at parallel we should have the training of our security forces, that we should train them to counter any type of terrorist activities. So for that, another ground combat school was added to this, and today it is running a lot of courses for the security forces of the Air Force. So we conduct various courses for the security forces of Pakistan Air Force, which are placed, and they perform their duties at each base to protect it against any type of the nefarious design of our adversaries.
So how can we simply comment that for like how long the trainees and those who have graduated from this combat school of this specific wing, like for how long, how many years have passed by that the cadets are taking part in the actual combat activities alongside the other SSG forces of Navy and the military? Since
2002, when the base came into existence, and then the initial special services wing. So since the counter-terrorism operation started in Pakistan, so we were the initial participant even in the Swat and Waziristan operations. Okay. So this wing was a part of that. And since then, we are available to the Pakistan Air Force for any type of such like operations.
Right. And so can you just briefly tell us about what is the strength right now that you are having it right now at the airbase, and specifically if we speak about this sensitive and one of the forces obviously considered one of the powerful force of the entire armed forces, if we talk about SSGs and commandos of Air Force and Navy and etc. So how do you rate these commandos? Are they even now, if the situation is fluid or sensitive, are they ready to go to tackle any kind of challenge, or they are specifically being trained to counter the terrorist activities?
No, sir. We would love to go for any type of operations which the Air Force will give us, and we are the same as of the Army and Navy. So there is no difference between the training and between the preparations. So anytime the Air Force will call us, and we are ready, yes. And it will be, a happy moment for each and one of us that we go and just jump into such like situation.
So we'll come back to the training spectrum and a little bit technicalities later, but for the consumption of a common man in Pakistan, what is the difference? Because whenever we talk about 7th September, we are always thinking about jets and aerial dogfight and everything, GF-17s, F-16s. What is the difference between other air bases and this particular base of Pakistan Air Force for the consumption of common man?
This base is specifically for, for the ground special operations, as well as I have told you for the counter-terrorism operations. Plus, we trained the security element of Pakistan Air Force to train them. Pakistan Air Force always is best when they come into the air. The combat fight, and you have seen it, we are proud to have the fighter, pilots with us and other pilots with us who perform duty day and night for us. But when we see the machine, when it is on the ground, it's vulnerable. So to protect it on the ground, exactly, it's required a specialist teams. So for the preparation of those teams to secure such like machines on ground, so we are here to train them, as well as if we want any country who look towards us as an adversary, we will give a punch them, or as far as the ground is concerned, we will cross the border and go there and do our mission.
So you are the man who protects the machine of Air Force, and you are there to secure every inch of every sensitive installation of Pakistan Air Force. That's very clear. Sir, can we come to if you can just explain a bit for us that what's the technical spectrum, the technical side of the training? Can you just highlight for us that what kind of training courses you are having for the cadets and trainees, and how do what's the time frame to get those courses completed for them?
There are various courses we run right from, there is a week time frame also, there is a month time frame, and there is 2 months. And for us, when we go and do the Special Forces course, it's a 1-year course. So it's a tri-services course, and we qualify that course when we want to come to this special base. Okay. And to come to this special base, the attrition rate for the courses is almost 90%. Okay. Is the attrition. So out of 100, only 10 qualified maximum. So, the quality of people here, you can well imagine. And then when we use our instructors, and they do the instructional duties, so they don't bring, they don't leave any gaps in the training.
And so last question, what are the achievements of this specific Air Force base? Can you just highlight a bit?
The best achievement in my thing is, when this terrorism aspect starts, so the biggest contribution was that we were not prepared to get such asymmetric warfare and the unconventional way of, attacking such places, the bases and the soft targets. We were not prepared initially. But since we have taken over as a training also, one of this Crown Combat School has taken over the training. So since then, the bases, by the grace of Almighty Allah, are safe, and the training, the people are well trained, and now nobody can dare to look towards us.
Thank you so much. This was Base Commander, Group Captain Maqsood Akhtar, and he's right now Base Commander, Pakistan Air Forces, Air Base Kalar Kahar. And when we, as I just said earlier, when we talk about 7th September, we are always thinking about, and whenever we talk about air bases, we are always thinking about fighter jets and aircrafts and everything, and aerial dogfights. But this was the first time that we brought another angle of a PAF base for the audience and the viewers. So it was our first effort to bring to you a different angle of a combat force, which is one of the best forces of the country, not just the country, but globally. And I've just heard that this base is also achieving many medals, and they're attaining best grades in the international military games as well across the globe. So I'll be signing off my program from Kalar Kahar base of Pakistan Air Force, and this will be the entire content for you regarding 7th September, the Defense Day of Pakistan, which we derive to celebrate always, obviously. We derive it from the 1965 war, but right now in the modern age, we are having different angles of security, and our best man and our best men are totally ready to secure the motherland. This was Sumaira Khan doing this special show for Indus News, signing off.
That's all that we have for now. To follow us on social media, you can log on to indus.news.